Have you ever caught yourself saying something not so nice about yourself and your animal communication abilities or your dreams, whether they're going to come true or not? Well, in this episode, I want to recognize that our negative self-talk holds us back and sometimes completely stops us from moving forward and taking steps to make our dreams come true. And I've seen so many animal lovers stop or slow down or take a break from learning, from practicing, from moving forward to become the animal communicator that they want to be. And the thing is that the world needs all the animal communicators that it can get. So what do we do? So how do we overcome our inner dialogue that comes from our programming and our negative self-talk to be able to continue to move forward learning animal communication and becoming an animal communicator? Because we're going to talk to ourselves, we're going to have thoughts, we're going to have a conversation in our head. So how do we manage this? Well, in this episode of Animal Communication with Dr. Cara, that's me, I'm going to share 4 ways for you to help you silence your inner critic so you can make progress as an animal communicator and make your dream come true. I am a professional animal communicator. I'm Dr. Cara Gubbins, founder of the Animal Communicator Academy. And my mission is to help animal lovers become confident animal communicators so they can help their pets or become a professional animal communicator or add animal communication to the profession that they already have. My vision is that we have animal communicators in every home, in every veterinarian's office, in every animal rescue center, every wildlife rehab center, every shelter, everywhere. And if you support this mission and this vision, then please like this episode and subscribe to Animal Communication with Dr. Cara so we can reach even more animal lovers and more animal communicators. But for now, let's dive right in to this topic today. And really, this topic is how to overcome your inner critic to become a confident animal communicator. So it turns out that we basically have 2 voices in our heads. One is our inner guide, and one is our inner critic. When my son was, like, I don't know, in elementary school, he was like maybe 8 years old, 6 years old. I don't know. He said, "Mom, is that what an angel, a shoulder angel and a shoulder devil are?" God, I can't even talk. But he called our inner guide and our inner critic a shoulder angel and a shoulder devil. I think because in all the cartoons, they show those two on our shoulders talking to us, right? So that's really how we can think of it. Our shoulder angel is our inner guide who's wise and positive and optimistic and grounded and has a big picture view and understands and supports you. The inner critic or the shoulder devil is negative and pessimistic and judgmental and prone to gross generalizations and using big loaded words like never, you'll never do this, or always, you're always doing this, right? So those are some of the red flags that will help us recognize when it's our inner critic who is talking to us. And I want to say, our inner critic is part of us that's trying to help us and keep us safe. It's trying to keep us small and safe and not go out into the big, scary world and somehow get hurt or fail or something like that. So our inner critic is not bad. It's just misguided, really. Like, that's how I think of it. But when we listen to our inner critic, we get stressed, we get tense, and we get afraid to fail. And then we hold ourselves back or we quit altogether. And we all have an inner critic, and it can pipe up at the most unexpected times. And it's really, honestly, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but it's not going away. So it's really important to recognize that voice and to have a plan for dealing with it, managing it, working with it, understanding it, moving on anyways, however you want to think about it. So I have 4 different ways for you to work with your inner critic to help you overcome this tendency that our inner critic has to stop us in our tracks, to not risk going for our dreams. So technique number 1 is when you have your inner critic have some negative self-talk to you, counter that with evidence that shows that these criticisms are incorrect. So countering with evidence. So for instance, if your inner critic says, I'll never be able to communicate intuitively with animals, I'm bad at this, then you're going to counter that with, wait, I've made this progress since I started. And look, I've had these small successes. They may not be as big as I want them to be, but I have succeeded. So now you've countered that criticism with evidence of success, right? So that's one way to address your inner critic. Number 2, offer a positive explanation for the criticism, right? So we're going to just reframe this. So if your inner critic says, oh, you're too slow, if you were going to be able to do this, you would already have done it, right? Like, like that weird kind of negative criticism. But there's nothing wrong with being slow. So you might counter this with, yeah, I'm slow. I take my time. I build a strong foundation. I don't rush myself. I have all the time in the world, and there's no need to hurry or to move quickly or to push myself for this particular thing. So studying animal communication. So that's number 2. Number 3, when your inner critic criticizes you, you just question whether it even matters, like question the importance of that statement. So if your inner critic says something like, well, when I practice animal communication in class, I'll be so nervous that I'll go blank or I'll get it wrong, and the other students will laugh at me. Like, this is something that an inner critic totally would say. But really? Being nervous, like, you should never do anything so you don't ever get nervous. So you want to counter this with putting it in perspective, right? Is it really that important to not get nervous? So you might say something like, yes, I will be a little nervous, but even if I'm nervous, so what? I'll still do my best. I'm still going to try. And really, the more that I show up and the more that I try, the less nervous I'll become and the better I will do. So I should go practice more. And everybody else is learning too. So maybe they're nervous too. And maybe we can all improve and get more confident together. Maybe it's okay to be a beginner and to be nervous. And maybe I'm nervous because I really care about this. And maybe that's a good thing. See how this works, right? Like, are you getting the idea? Like, we can really do these conversations with our inner critic. And then finally, the 4th technique is to acknowledge the criticism and acknowledge that there's some truth in it. But you're not going to leave it there. You're going to create a plan to solve the problem. So if your inner critic says, oh, you're just terrible at animal communication, you might say, yeah, I'm really not that good yet. I haven't gotten anything right. I don't, whatever you were at, I got some things right, but not, little things, but not big things, whatever it is. It's true that I'm not as good as I want to be. I'm nowhere near where I want to be, but I know I can learn how to do this with practice. And I'm going to commit to my daily self-care routine, and I'm going to commit to a weekly animal communication practice session with different animals that I know, or different animals in my neighborhood, or the birds in my backyard. I'm just going to keep going, and I'm going to see what happens. So you acknowledge, like, you're not that good at it. You're probably not terrible, but maybe you can acknowledge that you're not that good yet. But now you have a plan. You're like, okay, I know these are the things that will help me move forward. So these are the things that I'm going to do. So that's really it in a nutshell. We don't have to be prisoners to our inner critic. We can also have a conversation. Let's call this like bonus number 5. Like, have we can call on our inner guide and say, hey, inner guide, do you want to chime in here? Do you have anything to add to this conversation? Because when you invoke your inner guide, you're going to get such like grounded, supportive, understanding, nurturing kind of a perspective, right? This is your wisest version of yourself. So, tip number 5 is to invoke your inner guide and see what they have to say, right? Like, see how she counters what your inner critic says. Because we don't only have one voice in our head, we have at least two. Some of us have more. That's okay. But we can use these voices to our advantage, and really understanding the dynamic of how to manage this, how to navigate this, because I have never met an aspiring animal communicator or a successful animal communicator who didn't have to navigate negative self-talk at some point. And most of us still have it, right? Like, I've been a professional animal communicator I think this is my 15th year. And every once in a while, I still get that chatter in my head, that old low self-esteem, questioning, nervousness, whatever it is, or I'm expanding my comfort zone and I get some negative self-talk like, oh, who are you to do this? Or you can't do this. You've never done it before, or whatever. But once you understand that this isn't true, this is just your inner critic who is, has one job to keep you safe, and one method to criticize you, to make you small so you don't get big and go out into the world and get in trouble or fail or whatever other unimaginably horrible thing your inner critic thinks might happen. So I hope that this gives you a little bit of perspective on that negative self-talk, because we all have it, but maybe you thought like it was true, right? You didn't question it, or maybe it felt true, or it felt so strong, or whatever. But having some ways to work with it is empowering, and it allows you to keep going even if you're nervous or scared or lacking confidence or just don't know what to do, right? So let's just kind of summarize here. These now 5. Started with 4, and now I just added a 5th. So if the criticism from your inner critic is just blatantly false, all you need to do is provide evidence that shows the opposite. It works. It really, really works, right? Like, I can't run up a hill. Oh, wait, I used to do that all the time in college. I can run up a hill. That was part of my crew training. We used to go run hills after rowing. So I can run up hills, right? That's opposite evidence. So that's just like, oh, it's just not true. And then if it is true, there's 3 things you can do. Number 1, reframe it to the positive. So take the part of that that's true. It's probably only a piece of it, because our inner critic blows things out of proportion. So take the true part and see it as a strength. So what your inner critic is trying to say is the negative, and you can reframe it to a positive. You're slow. Yes, I'm slow. That's good. You're cautious. Yes, I'm cautious. I'm taking my time, right? Like, that's a good thing. I like that about myself. You could also just put it into perspective of like, yeah, like, maybe that's not so bad, or maybe it could be worse, like, really, the inner critic blows everything out of proportion. So just bring it back into, am I really that bad or scared or blocked or whatever? Am I really that much, or is it really just this much, right? Put it into perspective. The 4th thing to do, especially if it's true, is acknowledge the true part. And again, it's not going to be all of what your inner critic says. It's going to be some small portion of that. So you can then go, okay, yeah, you have a point, fair point. And here's my plan. This is how I'm going to address that issue so I can still move forward. So we're not fighting the critic. We're not making it wrong. We're not making it bad. We're just in a place of acceptance. When we have conflict, that makes things worse. So we're not going to judge our inner critic or make it wrong or judge it as bad. We're just going to go, okay, I hear you, and I hear you, and and here's evidence that's the opposite, and here's why that's a good thing, and here's really the perspective. It's not that big of a deal. Or, okay, I hear you, and here's a plan. And then, of course, whether it's true or false, that criticism from your inner critic, you can always invoke your inner guide and just really, go into your heart, into your core, into the little, shoulder angel, and say, hey, what's your perspective on this? Both your inner critic and your inner guide are part of you. And we're just going to have this conversation between these parts of us. And it can be really amazing to see what your inner guide comes up with in those moments. So I'm going to invite you to just take a deep breath, get quiet, and say, hey, inner guide, can you chime in here? And just see what happens. So it's such an interesting phenomenon as animal communicators, as aspiring animal communicators. We are often our worst critics. We are often projecting onto other people how they might be judging and criticizing us. But the thing is that doesn't happen nearly as often as you might think, you might be nervous of. And if it does happen, if somebody else belittles you when you say that you're learning animal communication, or says that's not real, or says you won't ever succeed, or whatever they say, whatever their true criticism from another person is, it only feels true when it's coming out from outside of us, when we believe it, right? So when our inner critic is saying the same thing to us, that's the only time that anybody else's criticism has a place to land. So it's so important to do the mindset work with yourself, talk to your inner critic. And then if somebody does criticize you or judges you, or, rains on your parade in any way, their words have nowhere to land inside of you, and you're going to be fine. So, if somebody says something to you and you get hurt by it, also know hey, that only hurts because that's what my inner critic has been saying also. And when you work with your inner critic and update those programs, then the outer stuff has no place to land, and it just doesn't bother you anymore. And so this is one of the thousands and thousands of reasons that the mindset work is so critical for anyone who wants to become a confident animal communicator. So that's my spiel for today. I'm wondering if you've ever overcome your own negative self-talk. Did you use one of these 5 ways? Do you have another way? Right? Do you keep going anyways? Maybe that's another technique that you use. Or are you going to try one of these tools and see if it helps for you overcoming your inner critic? I'd love to hear from you in the comments. And if this episode of Animal Communication with Dr. Cara was helpful, then please do all those things: like, subscribe, share, and sign up to be notified for new episodes that come out. These are on YouTube, and they're also on Spotify as a podcast. So wherever you like to get your information, you can get it visually and auditorily, or just auditorily at YouTube or Spotify. And if you would like for me to be your mentor as you become a confident animal communicator, then definitely check out the Animal Communicator Academy. There's information on my website at caragubbins.com/ACA. I would love to hold that vision for you and help you achieve your dreams. So have fun in conversation with your inner critic, and I look forward to celebrating your wins with you. And I really want you to keep going, because people, animals, the planet needs people like you, needs animal communicators, animal lovers, and people just bringing light and love and respect wherever they go. And I know that's you. So have a great day. Good luck with this. Let me know how it goes, and I'll see you next time.